Welcome back to the System Read. Today we are cracking open the firmware upgrade for the modern soul. I'm talking about the Almanack of Naval Ravikant. Sarah, I honestly feel like my brain was running on an outdated operating system until I internalized these principles. It's not just a book. It's a blueprint for escaping the 40-hour workweek and the mental anxiety of the rat race.
A firmware upgrade, Marcus? Or just the latest version of Silicon Valley survival bias? I've read it too, and while it's pithy, I can't help but feel it's the autobiography of an extraordinary exception, wrapped in the language of universal truth. It's easy to say money won't make you happy when you've already won the intelligence lottery.
But that's the point. Naval isn't saying it's easy, he's saying it's a skill. Let's start with his core thesis on wealth versus money. Most people are stuck in a loop of renting out their time for a salary. Naval is adamant. You will never get rich renting out your time. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. The factory, the code, the robots. It's ownership, Sarah. Ownership is the only path to freedom.
Ownership. It sounds so clean in a tweet storm. But look at the modern economy. We're moving toward a rentership society. People can't afford homes, let alone equity in startups. When Naval says wealth is the computer program running at night, he's describing a world where a tiny elite owns the AI and the software, while everyone else is a leveraged worker whose inputs don't match their outputs. Is that democratization, or just a new form of digital feudalism?
It's the exact opposite of feudalism. He calls code and media permissionless leverage. In the old world, you needed a bank to give you capital or a mob of people to follow you as labor. Today, you just need a laptop. You can write a piece of code or record a podcast like this one, and it works for you 24/7 with zero marginal cost of replication. That is the ultimate equalizer. The army of robots is freely available in data centers for anyone who has the specific knowledge to command them.
Oh, specific knowledge. You mean that weird combination of DNA and upbringing that you can't be trained for? If society can train you, it can replace you. That's Naval's line, right? But Marcus, that sounds a lot like telling people to just be a genius. What happens to the millions of people who don't have a highly technical or creative niche that can't be automated? If your specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity, but your curiosity doesn't happen to align with what the market wants to scale, you're just, what, authentically broke?
He actually addresses that. He says most of life is a search for who and what needs you the most. It's about productizing yourself. You find the thing that feels like play to you but looks like work to others. And in the age of the internet, the possible space of careers has broadened so much that you can find an audience for any niche interest. You escape competition through authenticity. If you're building an extension of who you are, nobody can compete with you on being you.
But being yourself has become a competitive sport on social media. We've turned authenticity into a personal brand, which is really just a status game in a different outfit. Naval tells us to ignore people playing status games because they're zero-sum. To win, someone else has to lose. But Marcus, isn't being a top-tier influencer or a celebrity founder just the ultimate status game? Even Naval is playing it. He's an icon in Silicon Valley with millions of followers.
No, he's playing a wealth game, which is positive sum. He's baking the pie bigger. He's using his reputation, his sterling reputation built over decades, as leverage to get deals that others can't. He rejects the monkey tribe hierarchy. He says the real winners are the ones who step out of the game entirely, the people who can sit in a room alone and be happy.
Let's talk about that happiness. This is where the debate gets personal for me. Naval claims happiness is a highly personal skill you can learn, like fitness. He says every desire is a chosen unhappiness. He wants us to be off the hedonic treadmill. But isn't that a bit convenient? When you're an angel investor who's already made it, you can afford to have no desires. It's a lot harder to find peace and acceptance when you're worried about the rent or your health insurance.
He doesn't ignore that, Sarah. He's very practical. He says, let's get you rich first. He acknowledges that money solves your money problems and removes obstacles to happiness. But he also points out that many wealthy people are deeply miserable because they've trained themselves to be high-anxiety, high-stress people for 40 years and don't know how to turn it off. He's trying to prevent that. He's saying that even if you're struggling, you can train your mind to stop planning the future or regretting the past.
But is that presence? Or is it just cultivating indifference to things outside your control? I worry that this philosophy becomes a tool for the privileged to ignore systemic inequality. If I'm a remote worker in a gig economy startup and I'm stressed because my inputs and outputs are highly connected, Naval's advice is to meditate and discard identity. It places the entire burden of success and peace on the individual. Save yourself, he says. But what happened to the compound interest in relationships and the integrity of the tribe?
It's not about ignoring the system, it's about mastering it. He's telling the remote worker, value your time at a high hourly rate. Become a perpetual learner. In the digital age, you have to be able to become an expert in a brand new field in 9 months, because your old job will be obsolete in 4 years. That's not a burden. That's a reality of the information age. He's giving us the mental models to navigate it, concepts like the principal-agent problem and compound interest.
And AI. He mentions an army of robots freely available. But Marcus, AI is the ultimate consolidator of production. Naval admits that the best person in the world at anything gets to do it for everyone. That's a winner-take-all dynamic. If one AI can write all the code or one creator can capture all the attention, what happens to the 7 billion companies he hopes for? It feels like we're building a world where a few leveraged workers thrive and everyone else is just unleveraged and left behind.
But that's why you need the Almanack. It's the guide for the lone individual summoning inhuman willpower to compete against the armies of scientists weaponizing dopamine. He's giving you the defense mechanisms, radical honesty, reading the greats in math and science, and shedding identity to see reality. He's saying that in an age of infinite leverage, judgment is the most underrated skill. One correct decision can win everything.
Judgment. Or just the ability to not care what other people think. There's a fine line between courage and sociopathy, Marcus. Naval says he's famous for being rude at parties if he thinks they're a waste of time. He says other people being happy is their problem. That's a very lonely way to live. Is the freedom from emotions and freedom from expectations really freedom? Or is it just a way to insulate yourself from the messy, beautiful reality of being human?
It's the freedom to be authentic. No one can compete with you on being you. He's saying that if you stop trying to be who society wants you to be, the monkey with a plan, you actually become more effective and more at peace. You stop playing stupid games to win stupid prizes. You find work that feels like play. Sarah, imagine if everyone was doing the thing they were irrationally obsessed with. The world would be an explosion of art and science.
It would also be an explosion of egos. Naval's philosophy is built on the idea that real knowledge is intrinsic, and that you should appeal to your own authority. But that's exactly what leads to the echo chambers and the tribal identification we see on social media. If everyone thinks they're a clear thinker who insists on thinking everything through for themselves, who is actually listening?
The person who's too busy earning or learning to argue on the internet. Naval is ruthless about discarding memory and identity to focus on the problem. He's not telling you to be an island. He's telling you to play long-term games with long-term people. He's talking about compounding relationships based on high integrity. That's the opposite of an ego trip. It's about being so reliable and so good at what you do that luck becomes your destiny.
Luck becomes your destiny. It's a great line. But I look at his timeline. Born in Delhi, moved to Queens, Stuyvesant High School, Dartmouth. He calls Stuyvesant an intelligence lottery that saved his life. He admits he got lucky by passing that test. My question is, can a kid in a rural town with no library and a failing school apply the Naval Ravikant operating system? Or is this a firmware upgrade that only works if you already have the high-end hardware?
He would say yes. The tools are all available. It's all out there. We live in the age of Alexandria, where every book is a fingertip away. The means of learning are abundant. It's the desire to learn that is scarce. He's trying to spark that desire. He's saying that even if you started poor and miserable, you can work your way up to specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. It might take a decade, but compound interest will get you there.
Maybe. Or maybe we're just reading the meditations of a modern-day Marcus Aurelius, a man who was the most powerful human being on earth, trying to be a better person, while the empire around him was much more complicated than his diary suggests. I don't doubt Naval's sincerity, Marcus. I doubt the scalability of his piece.
That's a fair critique. But even if only 10% of it is applicable to the average person, isn't that 10% still life-changing? If you just learn to earn with your mind, not your time, or that envy is the enemy of happiness, haven't you already won?
Perhaps. But I'll stick to my multiplayer games for now, Marcus. I'm not ready to be a rat who looks at the clouds just yet. I still think we have a responsibility to fix the race, not just accept that we're rats.
Well, as Naval says, interpret generously. Whether you see it as a how-to or a heresy, you can't deny the system is fascinating.
Oh, it's addictive, Marcus. I'll give you that. Now, let's go do nothing for an hour and see if we hit mental inbox 0.
I'm already there. See you in the present moment.
Don't count on it.
Thank you for listening to this discussion on the System Read podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss our upcoming deep dives.